What's up, duders? Time for your daily dose of internet madness. I caught my wife cheating, and then found out she was the one being cheated on. I've been married to Lena for 8 years. I'm 38, she's 35. No kids, just a quiet little house at the edge of a neighborhood that smells like lawn clippings and burnt toast every Sunday morning. We weren't perfect, but we weren't a disaster either. We had routines, coffee in the same mugs, Friday grocery runs, arguments about whether towels should be folded in thirds or fourths. I thought we were fine in that soft, boring way that felt like safety. Then, 3 weeks ago, things started feeling off. Not dramatic off, nothing movie-worthy. She just started carrying her phone everywhere. Bathroom, laundry room, even outside to grab the mail. She changed her passcode. She started working late, which wouldn't be weird except she'd come home freshly showered and smelling like a different soap she didn't own. I told myself I was being paranoid. Men like me don't get cheated on. Or, more accurately, men like me don't make a fuss. We just carry the weight quietly and let it reshape our shoulders. The night I caught her was painfully ordinary. She said she was going to a late yoga class. I don't know why, but something in my chest tightened for no clear reason. I waited 10 minutes after she left and then followed her. I drove like an idiot, too fast and too slow at the same time. She didn't go to yoga. She parked behind a small wine bar that was half lit and smelled faintly of wet brick and old flowers. I watched her through the windshield as she got out and smoothed her shirt down. Her hands were shaking. That should have been my first clue, but my brain was too busy ringing every alarm it had ever learned. A man walked up, older than me, gray in his beard, a leather jacket he was trying too hard to look young in. He smiled at her like he'd memorized her face. She stepped into him without hesitation. They didn't kiss. They didn't hold hands. They just stood too close. Then they went inside. I sat in my car with the engine running, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might actually crack a rib. I didn't go in. I didn't confront her. I drove home and sat in the dark living room, staring at the pattern in our rug like it might rearrange itself into answers. That night she came home cheerful. Too cheerful. She kissed my cheek. She talked about deep stretching and breath work. I nodded like I was hearing about the weather. The next week I started acting like a stranger in my own life. I checked her phone when she slept. No obvious messages. No contact under weird names. Just normal stuff. Grocery lists. Work emails. A recipe for lemon chicken. I felt insane. Then, 2 days later, I saw a message pop up while she was in the shower. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't sexual. It said, "You didn't tell him, right?" I opened the messages. I know. I crossed that line. But at that point, I felt like I was drowning and someone had just thrown me a rope made of thorns. There were dozens of messages. Not flirty, not romantic, panicked. She was texting someone named M. She was saying things like, "I don't know how much longer I can do this. He thinks I'm going to yoga. Please tell me you're not lying to me too." And then I saw it. The twist that made my stomach drop through the floor. She wasn't cheating with this guy. She thought he was cheating on her. Apparently, she'd met this man, his name was Marcus, at a work event 6 months ago. He told her he was divorced. He told her he was lonely. He told her his wife had left him. They never slept together, according to the messages at least, but they got emotionally close, very close. Daily texts, calls when she went for walks, long talks about fears and futures that didn't include their real partners. Marcus had promised he was in the process of making his separation official. He fed her stories about lawyers and apartments and misery. Then, last month, she found out he was not divorced. He was still very married. He had kids. He had built an entire fake life for her to live inside. She wasn't sneaking around because she was in love with him. She was sneaking around because she was unraveling and didn't know how to tell me she'd emotionally fallen into something awful. She thought she was the only other person. Turns out she was the other person. She was being cheated on by a man who was cheating on his actual wife. I sat on the edge of our bed with her phone in my hand feeling like I'd accidentally walked into some kind of emotional tax fraud scheme. When she came out of the shower, I asked her calmly, "Who's Marcus?" Her face collapsed. I don't mean she cried. I mean her structure broke. Shoulders, mouth, hands. It was like watching a building lose its frame. She told me everything. All of it. She didn't blame me. She didn't say it was my fault. She said she felt invisible for a long time and when someone saw her, she froze and didn't know where the line was until she'd already crossed it too far. She said she was trying to end it. She said she felt stupid. She said she hated herself. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just felt tired, like a man who climbed a mountain expecting solid ground and found fog instead. We slept in the same bed that night. but it felt like two islands floating in the same dark ocean. Alright, I'm stepping in for a second because wow, you ever think you're watching a simple plot and then the story hits you with emotional origami? This man followed his wife expecting fireworks and got existential paperwork. Also, shout out to Marcus, the human red flag wearing a leather jacket. If you're taking notes at home, emotional cheating is still cheating. But being emotionally scammed by a serial liar? That's a spicy layer of heartbreak none of us ordered. The days after that conversation were strange. We didn't scream. We didn't cry dramatically every second. We just drifted, like two people sharing space after a small earthquake, checking which walls were still standing. She cut off contact with Marcus, blocked him on everything. I watched her hand shake while she did it, which felt unfair, because I was the one bleeding and she was the one trembling. I asked her if she loved him. She said no. I asked her if she loved me. She said yes so quickly it almost scared me. Marriage counseling came up but felt too heavy to touch, like moving a rock that might be holding something poisonous underneath it. Part of me wanted to forgive her instantly. Part of me wanted to pack a bag and disappear into a life where I didn't have to think about leather jackets and wine bar parking lots. What broke me the most wasn't the betrayal. It was realizing how lonely she had been while living right next to me. That thought sits in my chest like a slow-burning coal. 2 weeks later, I accidentally got pulled further into the mess. Marcus showed up. Not at our house, at my work. He somehow figured out where I worked and waited in the parking lot like some budget villain. He said he wanted to clear the air. He said he was sorry. He said he never meant for things to get complicated. I looked at this man and felt nothing but exhaustion. Not anger, not rage, just the quiet sadness of realizing how broken people collide and shatter strangers along the way. I told him to leave. He said, she deserved to be seen. I said, so did your wife. He left after that. Since then, Lena and I have been trying. Not like in the movies. No grand gestures, no violin music, just tiny steps. She leaves her phone face up now. I tell her when I feel distant. She tells me when she feels invisible. We are not healed. But we are still here. Let me just gently place a hand on your shoulder, reader. This is the part where most stories go nuclear. But this guy? He went oddly Zen monk about it. And honestly, respect. Also, Marcus showing up at the workplace was bold. Like, sir, this is not a rom-com. This is emotional trespassing. If Bad Decisions had a frequent flyer program, he'd have lifetime status. Update. I didn't think I'd come back to this account, but a lot of people messaged me asking what happened next. So here it is. It's been 3 months. We went to counseling. Not couples counseling at first. Individual. That mattered more. We needed to understand our own cracks before trying to plaster over them together. Lena started going to Real Yoga, a different studio, earlier classes, no secrecy. Sometimes I even go with her. I am not good at yoga. I bend like old wood furniture. Marcus tried to contact her again. Once, she told me immediately. She didn't hesitate. She handed me the phone without me asking. That mattered. We still have bad days. Sometimes I remember the parking lot and feel like I'm swallowing glass. Sometimes she cries in the bathroom because she hates that part of her life ever existed. But something strange happened through all of this. We started talking again. Not just logistics. Real talking. About fear. About loneliness. About the parts of ourselves we'd hidden even from each other. We aren't the same people we were before this. In weird ways, that might be a good thing. We're slower with each other now. Kinder. More careful. I don't know what the future looks like. I'm not pretending everything is magically fixed. But I know this, we are no longer pretending. We are awake. And for now, we are choosing each other. Okay, deep breath. If you made it here, congratulations. You've emotionally run a marathon in socked feet on tile flooring. This man didn't get the dramatic revenge arc. He didn't flip tables or burn bridges. He chose communication, therapy, softness. Honestly, I want to hug him and also send him a mug that says world's most emotionally mature Reddit husband. If I'm being honest, I'm stunned by the quiet bravery in this story. No explosions, no hero music, just two flawed humans choosing truth over comfort. Personally, I think I would have cried, eaten an entire pizza alone, and Googled how to emotionally disappear into a blanket burrito. Life lesson? People can hurt you and still be hurting too. That doesn't erase the pain, but it changes how sharp its edges are. And if Marcus is reading this somehow, please retire the leather jacket and seek professional help. Your move, audience. That's all folks, don't forget to update the video. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one. Doot doot.